Craig, my brother. It's actually exciting that we're doing this now, because I've said it for many years that we needed to actually sit down with the senior guys. I know we're all getting old, so we need to capture some of the memories that we have in the past. And thanks for the time that you're putting aside to actually just share this with us. We're recording this today, and I think it will benefit for generations to come. But I think there's some people here that don't know who Craig Townsend is. Very few people in the Eastern Cape that don't know who Craig Townsend is. So if you can just tell us what you're busy doing at the moment, where you're working, what you're doing with your life as such.
Okay, after leaving teaching, I went to England for 4 years, and I taught in England. Studied a bit into skills development, and when I got back, I taught at the FET College for about a year until the Master Builders Association approached me to do a project for them, a 2 million rand project. I then had an interview, and then they appointed me for that period. I had the dedication and the fight in me, and I enjoyed what I was doing, and I built the department up into such a position that they eventually made it a permanent department in the Eastgate Master Builders Association. And I am the skills development manager of the Eastgate Master Builders Association at this point in time. A very, very enjoyable job. I also represent them nationally, and I sit on the Construction Education Training Authority board, and I also sit on the Eastgate Training Centre board of directors. So basically that is what I am doing now at the moment. I do watch my hockey from time to time and my rugby from time to time. But yes, again, my involvement, I had to actually pull myself away from that, because my focus was my work at that stage in time.
Yeah.
And I was president at the Calvin Club for 2 years, and I then
decided to move on. And it's not your knees that have stopped you. It's
yeah, so you know what my knees, eh? Yeah, I just went to Irvin Tobias. I had to check up because I took an X-ray of my whole body, and then they put it on a CD for me. And what I did is I sent the CD to Irvin. I dropped it off there, and then he phoned me the next day. And you know, he calls everyone Uncle Craig. So he says, I mean Uncle, but he calls Uncle Craig. I mean, I've got some news here. I've looked at your CD. He says, you look, you know, you've got this problem where your cartilage is worn in your knees, and he says, but this comes with people playing like soccer, rugby, hockey, and things like that. Yeah. So he says, but funny enough, the first thing he said was, you've got 10 years. As I said, what? 10 years to live, or what? So he said, no, 10 years at your knee, your left knee, his cartilage is gone, and they're developing something basically to actually remedy that, like, you know, but at the moment the only thing is a knee replacement. And I said, well, and I said to him, fine, can't I do it now? You know, he says, well, okay, knee replacement, you can't, not now. Yeah. You can perhaps do it then, you know, because a knee replacement takes about 10 years, or that holds for 10 years. Yeah. So, I mean, if I should do that, then I'll probably be 6 foot under the ground. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we were much younger, we used to speak about what hockey game we wanted to play, or what baseball game, and now we talk about what tablets and what ops we're going for. But much of a muchness there. Craig, you've been playing, I mean, I have to say that you're my eldest brother, and you've been playing hockey as long as I know. Can you tell us a bit about where this all started with your hockey career way back then?
Well, what I can say is basically that I had, in my sporting career, I had actually a good mentor in my young years of sport. And he's still alive today. He's 91 years old today, Mr. Achadin, Hamad Achadin. And, you know, we used to be as youngsters when we were 15, you know, 15, 16. And he used to get us to be involved in any kinds of sport. So basically I started joining the Life Saving Club because he was involved with Alpha Surf Life Saving Club, which originated in South End apparently, right? So yes, I joined it, and we used to, his son Dickie and baby, we call him, Eunice, also a great sportsman. He played soccer for Blackpool. We used to wake up at about 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning, and then we used to go and we used to do our life saving. And that's when I got to learn people like Keith Nelson, Lydie Breines, Patty Brink, and Errol Dalasier, and then of course Pat Nip got involved later in the life saving. And we were lifesavers basically, but at school I used to play sport. I mean, I used to play, my father used to play for St. Mark's, and I used to play, when he played first team, I had to play under 11. So I played under 11, and my mother had to cut my socks, his socks in half like that, and sew it together so that it would fit me, and I had 6 studs anyways. I was the only guy with boots.
BG Continentals.
Yeah. And then, the ones that came off your heels like that, And then I started playing with people like Desmond Boyson and another guy called Whitey. And they tried playing me at scrum half, which is my father's position as an EP player and as the first team for St. Mark's. But eventually they discovered, no, I've got a bit of height in me, and I've got I must play in the pack. So I played rugby then also, and then I also got involved with, I was at school, I was the only English guy at Patterson High that played first team rugby. I played with like the guys like Stan Mitchell, Desmond Boyson, Basil Boyson, Gallo van Eck, Kevin van Eck, yeah? And then there's quite a few of them, and we played at school rugby. And they always tease me today also, when they get together, they say, "Hy's die enigste Engels ou wat rugby gespeel het, Patterson." But anyways, to tell you how I got involved with the hockey, was with when we were at Alpha.
Craig, if I can just say, you've mentioned the rugby now, but the little birdies told me that when you were a youngster, like 15, 16, you had some cricket prowess somewhere with Mr. Agedin.
Oh, Mr. Agedin, yes, although I could remember those days. I mean, there was Stardust and those teams those years, R&P used to play for Stardust, which is actually, I think it's a fledgling, and it's actually like Galvin or cricket now. Yes, yeah, we played as under 16s also, and I played cricket for junior cricket. Although I never played it at school because the school I was only involved with athletics basically and played rugby. But yes, we used to play under 16, and we used to carry the carpet from Galvin Park Flats. The stumps, and you want two, right, and we carry it up. We used to play at Calvin Grounds here, we played Springdale, and behind the flats there was a, yes, so Mr. Agedin also got me involved with the cricket, and I had a time when I played cricket, I had my moments. I was the opening bowler and I'm the opening batsman. And that team, my cousin Miley played a jump, we was under 16, Dickie Agedin, Gaston Periachi, I listened to name a few, Baby also played, and my moment there, like I say with the cricket was, Georgie Koen was our position, him and Richard van Brieses, they used to play for Daffodils, that as an Indian guy that used to, and Georgie used to be a fast bowler then, but I mean, he went into spin eventually. And yeah, my moment with cricket was that just under 16 I scored 94 runs, and that was quite an effort as a 15-year-old to score 94 runs against Stardust. As against a Dusty, Bernard Harrison. He's still involved, he's an umpire today apparently, and he's still involved with cricket, very seriously involved with cricket, I mean. So yes, that involvement was there, but then I focused on the life saving a lot because we were going to emigrate at one stage to Australia, and my father sold his house in Robbie Street, and we moved and we stayed at the beach for about a year or so, but things fell through, and whenever we were there at Neptune Beach, and the Alpha was based there, so I used to be involved with him, and then I joined the club, and Mr. Agedin took me under his wing, and I loved the sport then. And then eventually I qualified, I did my Surf Proficiency Award, and I qualified as a lifesaver with Alpha Surf Life Saving Club. They are now Hobby Beach apparently. Then how the involvement came to being with hockey was when we basically didn't have any winter sport that we were playing. And then Errol Delacia used to be involved with Cavaliers hockey, and that's where the hockey was being rejuvenated from the old years. I think it was in 1969 this happened, or 1968, 69, I'm not too sure the year. So basically what we did is, and we said, now what sport can we play? You know, a lot of the guys can't play rugby, you know, so because they have never touched the rugby ball yet. So Errol suggested, and we thought, hey, why don't we try hockey, because hockey is now reviving, and they actually, and there was the guys that we used to fear, like as Hamad Abrams, and then, you know, you see that ball like at like 90 miles an hour, you know, and so we were still youngsters also, you know, we were like, no, 17, 18 years, so 16, 17, 18 years, and but we decided we were going to play, and we formed a club. Now we're looking for a name, so he said we will be Alpha Surf Life Saving, so why can't we just make it Alpha Men's Hockey Club? Right, that was unanimous, like, you know. Keith Nelson was very much instrumental, and I remember a guy like Adam Joa, he wasn't in the life saving, but they used to be social buddies, and Alan Silgier also used to play badminton, Thomas Dreinkies, Ashel Prinsloo, and we used to have our first practices on the dike. And you know, we didn't even know how to stop a ball, how to hit a ball, but it got interesting. We could see the skill in here. So well, we had our first meeting also. So and we decided, okay, look at here now. All of us are driving like Volkswagens, you know. I had a fun bar. Keith Nelson had his maroon and white bar, and of course that's where the color maroon and white came from, you know, because Alpha Life Saving Club wasn't maroon and white really. And here we had all these Volkswagens. Ducky Ryan had a Beetle also. I mean, his Beetle was more clean than any of our Beetles, but so we decided now we got the name of the club, now we must have a badge also, because those years we actually were proud enough, and we wore blazers and ties when we went to functions, you know, like, I mean, it was a moment for us. So we decided, okay, what's the monogram going to be? And some clever in the meeting said, why don't we put a Foxy as a monogram over there? So I mean, it was a joke then, but some guys were serious about it, and we, you know, we had the sense not to do something like that, and eventually then we came up with an idea. Yes, but the Alpha means, what does Alpha mean? So it says Alpha is the first, and Omega is the last. So why not let's take the Alpha sign? And that's how we came into getting the sign on the badge is Alpha, the first. And I must say we were the first, and we were the top team for years, and it was very enjoyable. So that's how we started Alpha in 1972. We started Alpha.
Yeah. Craig, that is actually phenomenal. I'm just going to jump ahead now, because I want to ask you about your actual playing career for Alpha and so forth, but I believe that you were very instrumental in starting up another club before the unification took place. There was another club that started up as a result of your interaction. Can you tell us a bit about that club and why you actually decided to move that club ahead in the way that it did?
Well, yes, okay. In our first few years with Alpha, we were struggling. I mean, like Park Spurs is like old toppies then, but I mean, they was used to drink a bottle of brandy before the meeting. And they gave us a heading 5-0, Blue Whales gave us a 3-0, and slowly we came into it, like, you know, and then I got Miley, my cousin, a jump. I said to him, because he was staying with us in Parks, and I said to him, Miley, listen, we need a forward, man. And we need somebody that's going to fight and, you know. And then Miley was very much into soccer then. So Miley joined the club. And then Pat Nip was playing for us already, because I got Pat Nip as he was walking down in Galvin Park there where it blown out is now, basically. And we're chatting here, and I say, hey, come on, come play for Alpha. And then Pat eventually came to join Alpha, and we played also for Alpha. And we started, and Gugus Gregory was playing for, we started at Lakeside. So Pat eventually got Cooks to come and play for Alpha. That's the time I got Miley to come and play for Alpha as well. And I mean, then we took off because then we had a brilliant centre midfielder and a great striker, not saying the others. And I mean, Pat was himself a nice good inside forward. He could read the game, you know. And I tried at first in the forwards, but then I got relegated to the defence, you know, and it's like in the halves and the backs, and that's where I remained throughout my career. Yes, but then we started winning the league. Our competition was basically Celtic. I mean, they took the league a few times, I think, but we took the league most of the times. I mean, and what happened to me, it was the fact that I thought we're playing like this, and we're playing and we're winning every week. We're winning. We get a loss here and there, like it's normal. I mean, you get the All Blacks like today, they would now win all their game, but they'll get knocked here and there, and you get actually a bit frustrated and bored now, like, you know what, and I just decided, okay, and I was teaching at Galvin Park Primary then, and I was in charge of the Alpha Juniors. And I got all the guys like Johnny Smith, Elvisius Kluti, Patrick Rusford, Dion Morgan. They were in my standard 5 group, of my phys ed group, like, you know, and I was teaching. So they were all involved with soccer also then, you know. And I said, fine, no, you're going to come play hockey now, you know. So I took them. You pushed the rank there. And I took them, and they were part of the Alpha Juniors. They were going to be part of the Alpha Juniors at that point in time. But then I just decided, look at here, why don't we just create more competition in this league? You know, we've got Celtic, we've got Cavaliers. Bluebells was then, they were a very top team before, but they then were like mediocre. And you know, the Marlborough was starting to die. And Parks was obviously, naturally, and took what they call the age death, you know?
Yeah, natural attrition.
Natural attrition, that's what we call it, yes. So we then started, then I got a few guys together, and we wanted to create a competition. And I got a few guys like Pat Beekers, and of course Westy Jon was teaching with me, and Gordon Adams, they were playing, the late Gordon Adams, they were playing for Leeds, and he brought a few of the Leeds guys like Billy, Ware, and what's his name, Oscar Holland. And so we had Zano from Cavaliers, and we had our first meeting basically at my place in Raphael Crescent. In 1972, we were, in fact, that was Alpha's 10th anniversary. And I was invited but they knew I was going to leave the club. And I mean, the guys like Richie Dolly and them, they were not that happy about it, you know. I was awarded, Keith Nelson and I were the only surviving founder members of Alpha then. And I was awarded, now one of the founding members of Alpha is moving away from Alpha now. You know, so it wasn't it didn't go nicely, it wasn't a nice flavor, you know. So eventually they didn't want to see a reason because of that, but I felt like, man, it's like we have to do something. And then we got people from Cavaliers, from Leeds, from all various clubs. Even like Andre Peters came along, and then we sat it down and we started to think, how are we going to fall? What's the name of this club going to be? Then the guys came out with like Lions. Now Lions was a team in Cape Town that took, like Alpha took the league, and they moved to the Whiteys then already, you know. And we played against them as Alpha in the Champ of Champs, the first ever Champ of Champs. And my brother was Gary he was the goalkeeper of Alpha also for years now, and Leon White played there, and we had quite a few characters playing in our team, but we were on it. And you know, 9 of the Lions team was Western Province, and they used to slaughter EP every year. So here we come as the new youngsters in the block. You know, I'm diverging from that also, because I just remember now that, and that first Champ of Champs, now we're playing basically Western Province, right? So we looked at this team like that, and we played, and we're leading them 2-0 in no time. Scores 2-1, it's almost time. Benson's a white guy who used to coach Lions, he's umpiring the game also. He gives Lions a penalty flick I mean, in fact, at the end of the day, we drew with lines, 2-2, right? And we had a function that night. Not one lines guy pitched up for the function. I mean, they thought new youngsters on the block come along, and we drew 2-2 with him. I mean, that's just basically, that's how Alpha developed over the years, you know. Then we measured ourselves. Why must we go and lose tournaments at the EP and things like that? Western Province is always the forerunners, they're always the best, they're always this. No, I mean, we can, and that is why the EP started coming into the reckoning also, out of most of the sports in the Eastern Cape and PE of those years. But anyways, we formed this, the Alpha Maple Leaf because of creating more competition, as I previously pointed out.
You just mentioned now a double barrel thing, which was later in the history, the Alpha Maple Leaf, when there was a reuniting again. You were about to say about how the Maple Leaf team got its actual name and the logos and everything.
I'm coming to that now, yeah, that's where I'm coming to. So we were sitting there, and of course the Lions thing, as I pointed out. But then my parents had been to Canada that year, and they just got back from Canada, and they brought some little mementos for us and things like that. And at my house over there, I had this maple leaf flags in a little vase-like thing. And we're looking now we're scratching our heads now. And then we looked at this maple leaf flag over here. Then somebody said, why do you call the team Maple Leaf? Right, okay, Maple Leaf, and that was Maple Leaf. That is how Maple Leaf started. I mean, it was that we saw a flag of Canada's flag on there, that's Maple Leaf. And that started Maple Leaf though, you know. But I took all the juniors that were supposed to be Alpha's juniors, because I was in charge of the juniors then. I took them all over to form the Maple Leaf juniors. And I knew that was a very strong team, because we had like people like John Smith, Dion Morgan, Aloysius Glutti, Patrick Rusford, and then we had Ashton Jones coming in, and we had Garnett in there, and then we had Hayden, my brother, in there. So we could see that as a team for the future, really. The team that we formed was a team that was okay, but I know that we were going to have tough times. That team took the league once, I think, but it's only when a few of those youngsters of the juniors came through into that team that we took the league, and we beat Alpha that year. Okay, and so, but anyway, that junior team actually developed into our premier team. And I had the privilege of playing with them for about 2 years, because I mean, I had retired from playing Eastern Province hockey already then, and I didn't feel that I played to be supportive in the team, and I knew that although I was now a part of management of the EP team, but I was still playing first team hockey for Maple Leaf then.
Craig, that is actually interesting. You mentioned something while you were talking now, which is basically just on the precipice of unification. Just before unification happened, you mentioned, and I assume you could just give us a little 30 seconds, 1 minute kind of overview of that. You mentioned the name Alpha Maple Leaf. Was there later on where these two giants that came from one club, did they get back again together somehow?
Yes, it happened, and I'll just give you, I mean, it's because we're speaking now when unification things and like that, but it happened that we were Maple Leaf and Alpha was Alpha. And San, my cousin, had this idea that Central merged to form this powerful Central team, and we still didn't believe that was it, you know, because we wanted to have our own identities at that stage, you know. But as we played on, we realized, you know, we've got tough competition now being involved with the whiteys, as they call it, right? So we were practicing at the Galvin, yes, and I think Alpha was practicing at the Gemsa grounds, if my memory serves me correctly then. A message was carted between here, because the younger ones were now speaking amongst and each other and things like that, you know, and eventually we decided, fine, we're gonna we go meet up with Alpha, because the one common thing is that Maple Leaf is a breakaway from Alpha. And if those juniors and those guys were playing, would have been actually part of Alpha already. And then we had the meeting at Gemsa, and we were trying to get a name, and yes, they were like debating about the name, and you know how it goes, it's the politics of things. And I'll never forget, Marvin Trumpeter is the guy who said in that meeting, why don't we just call it Alpha Maple Leaf? Then we all understood it's fine. It's
Everybody's happy there.
Everybody's happy now, it's Alpha Maple Leaf. And that's how Alpha Maple Leaf came into being. Yes, and I was president of Alpha Maple Leaf for a few years also. And then we had a lot of people from other clubs joining us then also, like in the older ranks, like Keith Arnold's came. I mean, Trevor Dolly played for Alpha, and we had a good, powerful first team as Alpha Maple Leaf then also, you know, and we had a big membership as Alpha Maple Leaf also, you know.
And basically just a one-liner that we know about, that Alpha Maple Leaf ultimately became Galvin, which is post-unification, that's one of the biggest clubs in the northern areas now at the moment.
Yes, Alpha Maple Leaf, yes,
became Galvin Hockey Club.
Yes, with, of course, as Lotus is involved. But just shortly, very quickly, that what happened also, I know there are other people involved with Lotus over there, but a lot of our Maple Leaf guys went to play for Lotus, and I think that is where the whole thing started, and then Lotus also then, and I just touched briefly on that one, because I don't think Gugus and myself were the ones holding back and not to merge with Lotus to form Galvin. You know, because we could live with Alpha Maple Leaf, because we come from the same, it was like, you know, it's the same club, we breakaways basically, you know, so eventually we gave in, because San and the rest of the guys felt we must do it, and that's how we gave into that, and we went along, you know.
Like today also, the young guys start to drive the processes, the youth, where they're going to. Craig, you had a significant career, first as a player, maybe you can share with us, and then as a coach and manager with Provincial Hockey. Can you tell us a bit about significant times with you playing Provincial Hockey? Were there moments that when you played, things that you can remember about that as a player, and then as a coach of a team and a manager, we can just sort of group those things together?
Oh yes, no, I had wonderful years, you know, Kyogo. I played a lot of other sports also. I played like baseball. I was chosen for the EP team in baseball, but then I was married and my wife said I must go to Namibia to her brother's wedding, so I had to withdraw. I was not, but...
And while you're speaking about that, before you focus now onto the hockey, you said you represented baseball, and then I believe also rugby, you played provincial rugby.
Yes, I played provincial rugby, but of course the provincial rugby, I started playing rugby when I was under 11, as I said earlier, and when I went to school, I played rugby, and I think that mostly came from my late dad, because he was fanatical about rugby, you know, and I could easily say also that I had influence over like you and Gary and Hayden, and I could easily have said, come, you're all going to be rugby, so you would probably been playing rugby today, or you would have probably been involved in rugby, you know. So, and I was playing, and my dad was insisting, why don't I go play rugby instead of hockey, man, and that type of thing. So I decided one year, okay, let me go back, you know, and then I went to play for a team, and my father played St. Mark's. The guys, a lot of the younger guys didn't understand why I just played one game in the first reserve, which is below the Super League side, and the next game I was in the Super League side. And then the others had to tell them that I'm not playing rugby for the first time. I've been playing with them from under 11 at school in the first team, so and 4th division rugby I played also when I was younger. So yes, I got involved, and I got into the EP team in 1981 and 82. I was represented to play the Eastern Province rugby. And I'll just give you a quick one, the reason why I went back to hockey for that 2 periods. And obviously, those are the 2 years I didn't play for EP hockey because it was tough, you know. It's like, I mean, I tried the 1 year where I had to go to meetings, hockey meeting on a Monday night, Tuesday hockey practice, Wednesday rugby practice, Thursday hockey practice, then rugby meeting, and Friday team talk for rugby play, Saturday, and then play hockey on a Sunday. So it was hectic, and you could imagine how that. And then I had to actually then give up one, and I chose to carry and pursue the rugby route, you know. And what stopped me from playing rugby is eventually when those neck injuries were there, and we were playing against Douwe in one Super League game. I fetched Byron Hahn, used to live in Parkside down the road. And of course, yeah, we bought a case of beers for after the game, like, and I put it in a boot, and we played. And Douwe are students, so they know, like, I mean, we're one of the top teams in the Rugby St. Mark's, you know. And he was tackled, and he's still in a wheelchair. And I looked at that, and I said, no, this is now not it. And then, of course, my wife then, Moira, actually said, look at you know what, and I then gave up, and I went back to hockey. In 1983, that's when Maple Leaf was started, you know, because I didn't go to Alpha. I didn't go back to Alpha. That's the year Maple Leaf was formed. Yeah. You see, and then I got back into the provincial team that very same year after 2 years out of the team. Yeah. Then I played provincial hockey from 1983, 1984, 85, 86, 87. I captained the EP team. In 88, I retired. 89, I was in management, and I think that you were captain that year in Kimberley when you cried when the guys were drinking so much at the Timo Hotel.
Yeah, I think the youngsters won't realize today how we were very intense and emotional about commitment to and dedication to the sport. And I think I was very emotional because the more senior guys were taking it in their stride. And as captain of the team, I felt the responsibility was to bring home that trophy, the one that my forebearers have brought home, and that was the responsibility. But I think you guys treated me very well as seniors, made me feel it's okay.
Yeah, you won the tournament.
Yeah, we won the tournament. Don't worry, it will be okay. So that was a moment, yeah.
Yeah, I think yes, but because we had, and that's what I like about the hockey also, because I started playing for Eastern Province Hockey in 1978. I played trials in 77, although Alpha was started in 72, so I played trials in 75, 76, 77, and I got into the team only in 1978. And obviously, because you had to know, it's you to play to get in the team. And I know guys who played trials for the rest of their careers, like, you know. So, but once you're in a team, you prove yourself, and then you know. So basically, I played 78, and that was in Port Elizabeth. It was my first tournament. And Teddy Peters, they call him Rip, was our coach then. I mean, our manager, sorry. And yeah, Gugus was in that team. Gugus and Miley actually were the first from the Alpha to be chosen with the old team. That was in, I think, 74, 75, around about there. And then Miley was into the EP team, and Gugus was in there. And he was phenomenal because, I mean, I can remember we watched him at the Adcock Stadium, where this new guy coming on the scene here, it's just doing everything that no one did on the field before, you know. Yeah. And then, yes, and then I played 78, 79, and I enjoyed it. I mean, there are little things that we, you know, I don't want to expose everything, you know. Yeah, I mean, things that strikes me now is like, I will never forget one instance when we went up on the bus. Now, we had this camaraderie, and that's what made it so good, even in Alpha's days, and I will always say, not so much with the AP team, just coming back to the Alpha days, is that what made us successful, and I always said, is that we trained, that's obvious, but we moved as a unit together socially also. We had our fights, our arguments about this and that, but every Friday night We used to get together, we used to go out. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, we play together. We used to practically be a family that's like together all the time. So when we got onto the field, I mean, we would be differences about this and that, and we would just click because we like that's like a family, as I say, you know. And I think that is one good recipe for a good team. Whether you're going to be a mediocre team with stars that are average, or none of the stars are those are the average. If you play as one and as a unit with a determination because you are moving together like this and you are loving what you're doing, you know. We used to go to Sukains also, and when they walk in, hier kom die gladde mensen, and they used to say, okay, but fine. So, but we used to move, and that, and I think, and I can refer that to even to Maple Leaf also. When Maple Leaf started playing well with those juniors like Johnny, Hayden, all, it's because I tried to instill that, and I did instill that, and they used to move, they used to sleep at each other's houses, they used to be with each other all the time. They were friends, really. And that is where they came. When they played in the field, they played for their friendship also as well, you know. And with the EP team, we just had a unit that was like quite good. And I remember one year when they always used to say, because Gugus was now the man in the team, like, you know, and I think it was 86, I'm sure it was 86 when Gooks, yes, when Gooks went overseas, him and Steve Worther, and when we were out Gooks in our team, and they said, now we're going to see. And eventually we didn't lose without Gooks. So it just showed you it wasn't just Gooks there. Gooks made a difference, yes, in the team. You know, we could rely. He was a very good player. I mean, and I don't want to say he's not a good player, but age attrition is like attrition is always there, like, you know. But yes, and then so with the team itself, you know, we clicked. We knew each other. We knew how to play. And like Georgie would always say, I mean, I used to play because we were three fullbacks, right? We call them fullbacks then, and so this was Keith and Georgie and myself. Now, when Georgie and Keith were the known fullbacks when I got into the team, so now I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm always going to be the reserve fullback, you know. But then I was molded into being the left half, playing in front of Keith. Because then Jana came in and he was the right half in front of Georgie. But I played a couple times in front of Georgie. And Georgie is a very sly player, cunning player. So Georgie will actually buy time for us also. You know. So Georgie will say, yeah, Craig, you fat him. And if I go, I commit myself and I'll beat me. Now he must beat me. And then Georgie just picks up the ball and there he goes, you know, that type of thing. But it was understanding. I would go and commit. If I get the tackle right, I've got the tackle right. But if I miss the ball, I'm actually putting Georgie in a better position to collect behind me. You know? So we had that understanding, and we used to pivot. Like, for example, we used to play the formation. And the new guys will now say, yo, what is that? We tried to bring in 3-3-1 system at one stage, and the owners just looked at us, Georgie and I, we're the Saints of hockey book here, you know, we tried it. But eventually we played the 5-3-2 formation, where you have two inside forwards moving like pistons in your center half, and then you have your two halves and you have your two wings moving up and down the flanks. And then your fullbacks would actually become, depending where the game is played, the one fullback would become the what they call it, the centre back, not the centre back, the sweeper back. So if the play is going down your left, the right back will come and be like the sweeper back. If it moves there, then the other back will come around to be the sweeper back. But in my estimation, what I say is that the 5-3-2 system is actually the formation we started off with. We'll pick two inside forwards. We'll pick centre half, right back, left back, right wing, left wing. But in the essence of the game, when the game starts off, that formation changes into various other formations also. But we knew our roles as inside forward must come down and fetch and carry. Your centre half is covering. It's like in rugby, when your three-quarter, your back line moves, your number 8, watch what he has to do. He has to sweep behind the three-quarter line. So he's covering. So your centre half has got that roaming position where so your inside forwards would come, or your wings would come down. I'll never forget that we played at the Adcock Stadium. I mean, I would just look at the side of my eye and I see Richie standing right here, square of me, and I'm looking that way. Because Richie will stand amongst the crowd and then you see him, you stand there deep when you're there, and then he stops that ball and he's up and he didn't even see Richie coming down. So we would play like that, wings would come down like this. They would be attacking wings and defensive wings also. Yeah. They would move like that. The inside forwards will also move like this, and your centre half will be all over the field. Yeah. So
that is before we get on to your administrative roles that you've played with EP or with provincial things, it makes a lot of sense to me now. When I started coaching in my life, I started actually teaching the guys that whenever you play the game, you play it as a set piece. So if a guy's coming down the wing, like Georgie said to you, if a guy's coming down the wing, he sends you there not because he wants to send you to the slaughter, but you are playing a part of the set piece to set up the attacker, to make him commit so that Georgie could clean up. It wasn't individuals playing the game. You guys
played like a team.
And that's rubbed off onto the younger guys. When I say younger, I mean us maybe a few years younger, is that I never understood where that was coming from, but it was how you guys had structured your games that made you successful. You always played as a team for each other strategically. It wasn't people playing in isolation, which is quite an interesting factor. It's like a light bulb moment for me now.
I mean, I can add one thing also, which is very fundamental also in the way we used to play. It's like, for example, if I'm a fullback and I intercept the ball and I see a gap, I can't stand still and want to pass it like a draft board and say, no, I must stop, I must play there. And I run into that space to create, and somebody runs off the ball to create the space, because the most dangerous person is off the ball always, not on the ball. So where I moved out, somebody that's not in that area will come into my area to pick up my area, not leave that area open, because we're playing in our areas. But we're not static in our areas. So we actually, when we go on an attack, you move on to an attack, and then somebody moves into your position. Until I've played my play, and I'll come back into my position, that person will move back just automatically as the game goes on. You see?
Sure. I know there's lots more that, and that is, I think a lot of the younger generation now, they consider themselves as being more advanced, etc. But I think from all the interviews that I've done, if they listen carefully, they'll realize that lots of the success are jewels that you guys have shared there. If we look at your administrative side of it, Craig, your role as an administrator in provincial hockey, club hockey, and at any national level, could you just give us a sort of a idea what you used to do?
Okay. Yeah. Look, with Alpha, Errol Dalcia was the first chairperson, so I never took roles like in administration, because we were more in the playing side. We had guys who would take it like Pooksy and them. I don't want to be degrading, but I mean, 1 year Miley was captain of Alpha, for example, and I mean, Miley would play that winning 11 every time. Pooksy would stand on a line for 6 weeks or what, and you're going to be difficult to get in a team. But that was Miley as a captain. But my administrative role really started when I played for Maple Leaf, because I was chairperson of Maple Leaf, and I was chairperson of Alpha Maple Leaf, and I was chairperson of Galvin, which is now. So I had the role chairperson. I was I was involved as a delegate to the board also. But I never took a role on the administrative side on the board, because I just represented the club. But I did eventually, when near to unification, I became the vice president of the board of the union, the Eastern Province Men's Hockey Union. But that's another dimension, because that is when we became part of the NSC, the National Sports Congress, and when we moved away from SACOS for reasons that I'm not going to touch on, because that's
I actually would like to hear about that, and when we get close to the end of the interview, I'll actually just highlight that, because it actually would be interesting. I've heard from other hockey heights that you've played an integral part in the whole process leading up to unification. So I'll pop that question right at the end, so you can just keep that in the back of your mind now. As far as national, did you know, the SACOS teams and all that, were you any bit involved in?
Well, those years we were playing, I wasn't involved with the South African Hockey Board.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we had good guys, like, I mean, Kenny March was, he was the president of South Africa, and I mean, he's one that I really looked at because his heart was with hockey, and I mean, that's one I can take my hat off to, you know. I mean, even up to when we, after the new unification, actually, we had a Galvin tournament down there, and he spent most of his time with Wendell De Winger and myself up in the office over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I later on got involved with board levels when it came, as you said, unification at the later stage, because then things had to happen, you know. Because we relied on the guys who were our delegates then, and we were focusing on the playing side of things, you know. And it's like the youngsters of today, they don't want to be worried with administration. I can see it in some way, but I mean, there's a time like that you're going to have to get yourself involved.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so yes, you could have gotten yourself involved in a position on the board or the union at that stage, but we had those like Tony Peterson was treasurer, and I mean, Teddy March was there, you can see the fire, and you had Tyrone Eastroff, the secretary. Those are the things. So we had guys that you know, they were competent enough. And so I wasn't more involved at club level. Yes, I was chairperson throughout, like, you know, of the club.
Yeah. The statement you made earlier, and I just want to touch on it here, and you've said it already about what it is that made the past teams so good. Why was Alpha so brilliant? Maple Leaf, the clubs that played then. You mentioned earlier just the fact that they lived with each other. They were socializing everything. You've covered that already. Do you think that's a possibility for our generation of hockey players now? Would that, if they start applying that similar principle? I know our society and the youngsters are different today, but do you think there's hope if they apply those similar community principles, being with each other, and maybe just thrown into this bucket of what I'm asking you now is your take on junior hockey and the role it played back then, and would it be relevant today for the hockey as you know it now?
Well, I mean, I really had my reservations the way the school hockey was going, and I still have my reservations, and some guys tend to differ with me on that, but I still believe, yes, you find a club like Galvin, for example now, that will have junior teams. They have their smaller teams that can feed, but now you find some clubs that hasn't got the amount of players and the amount of junior players in the clubs that can actually feed. And that becomes problematic at the stage, you see. Because what was good about the time that we had juniors, every club was forced to have a junior side, is because that juniors would actually be then drilled into getting to play for the seniors and having the sense of club loyalty, you see. And that we seem to be losing and tend to lose now. I also would say that yes, the varsities play an integral part, yes, in our leagues. But my rationale in that one is that rather take the universities out of your league and let them play with the university, and when they play their intervarsities and things like that, but force them to play for your local clubs. And so doing, they are playing hockey, but they didn't get a sense of playing for a club. Like if I'm going to play for Old Grey, I'm playing for Old Grey. I'm playing for Galvin, I'm playing for Galvin. So when I leave varsity, I know that's my club I'm going to. You know, you might even get a guy who's from East London, from Johannesburg, and NMU. But once he's done, he probably will go back there, or he'll stay here because he's got now that sense of belonging to that club, and it becomes, you know, that's the way I look at it. Other people say, oh no, let them go, let them play there, let them become part of that. And the bottom line is, like, then they take the league every year. Now, what sense does it make? Now, your clubs are actually suffering at the expense. So your club hockey is actually not growing in terms of playing wise, and I don't know, maybe that would actually give more impetus to the provincial setup in Eastern Province also, because now you would attract players, and you know that the guy comes from Gauteng or KwaZulu-Natal, and he's here, and he plays for your club, and now you've got the infrastructure, you've got the sources and the resources to hold him here, and so doing improve your provincial team. Because look at our provincial team. I'm not trying to run them down and being constructive when I say this. They perform either mediocre or below mediocre. They end up here 5th, 6th. They're always playing off for 5th or 6th or 6th or 7th or this or that or that. You know, so no one is addressing that problem.
Yeah.
We're looking at it and saying, oh, but NNMU is like the team, they are running away, but in the meantime you've got to wait up. And so basically I can go for ages, but I mean, that's my rationale.
Yeah. Craig, just there's a lot of youngsters probably that don't know the things that have gone beforehand to actually make the AstroTurf become a reality, people who have done research before. I believe you have been involved in the early days to do the research, to get information about actually making it possible, and which led to the funding of the current AstroTurf as it stands at the Galvin now. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Oh yes, when we got into unification, and there's Gary Dolly, Colin Abrams and myself, we were quite instrumental in trying to get this AstroTurf, that we had meetings with BK Beagle regarding the AstroTurf, and the only way we could get funding then was with the City Council, which is the Metro now, and they put us on the priority list, you know. So, but it was like this, you know. If we number 2 now, and then when we're supposed to be number 1, something else becomes priority, and we shift it down, because I mean, to them hockey, it wasn't a real black sport at that stage. We tried to get it involved, we tried to get teams and guys to go and play. So yes, we knew that in Cape Town, for example, there were 2 AstroTurfs, right? So when we went into unification, there was an AstroTurf in the harbour that came down here, that was eventually laid at the Technicon, where the Astro is today, you know. And so yes, I can say that we were there, but you were quite instrumental thereafter, really, because I know Colin and you and Gary and him, you probably pursued it, because I went to England too. Remember, I taught in England for 4.5 years, you know.
Yeah.
And I can recall the one instance when I phoned and I said to you, and you told me, no, the money's in the bank, because I said, I said one of the same things again, because we're moving down to the next, and I think that's when you guys get onto the lotto idea, you know.
Yeah.
And so my involvement was there in the beginning, because we were wanting to do that, because we knew that there was an AstroTurf available.
Yeah.
And then we lost our second one because we couldn't get the funding.
Yeah. I think, and I'll probably share that when I share my story, the start of the putting down of the Astro started way before I was basically called in by EP to say the funding's come through, and from that point I sort of picked up the baton. But kind of want to acknowledge the role that you guys have played, you specifically with Colin and Gary, as you say, in actually laying the seeds down there, because by the time I came on board, the funding was there, and then we could take it to the next phase. But it's very significant, and I think it's important for people who are playing on that turf today to realize that our senior members have put a lot in, they've put a lot of effort and vision into making it happen. And we all have just played a little part in the whole process. At least that dream of having a turf at the Galvin is a reality now, so I think that's quite exciting there. And then just to round up everything, there's been a lot of work done prior to unification that probably people aren't aware of. From the time when we won the SACOS banner to the unification, people were doing a lot of work, negotiations. You, I know, that have been doing a lot of things, have been in that space. Can you share just a little bit of how that whole process started taking place?
Yeah, no, that I can actually it was, and people do have a misunderstanding sometimes of how things happen, and they say, no, we shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that. But I can actually tell you why it was done, and it's good that I'm going to relate this, because, you know, in our days of playing, I, for number one, was a big Sackos person. No normal sport in an abnormal society. That was my taking. I didn't like the certain group in that whole formation of the New Unity movement, because they were more political, because we were totally against the New Unity movement. But a lot of the Sackos guys, not a lot, a good few of them, were actually also linked to the New Unity movement. And you know, the New Unity movement is only for professionals. So if you're a teacher, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're this, that, and then you are going to form that political party. The Sackos got some link to that also. But irrespective of that, they had the good policy that we had, and we all followed that. But when we knew that the political change was coming about, we had to actually start moving with the political change. And then there was the National Sports Congress, which was formed, which was aligned to the African National Congress. The political party had now a sports body where you had Danny Jordan, Errol Haynes, Ronnie Pillay, and them all belonging to this. So we had to move with the times. But we had some people in Sackos in the union that didn't want to move. They wanted complete changes. Yes, we know we couldn't change these whiteys overnight, like, you know. But at the end of the day, we had to start with something. So we, in fact, and Kenny had been resigned by then, you know, and Colin was the chairperson of the EP Men's Hockey Union then, and then I became the vice chairman of the union then, and then we had, you know, Gavin Whiteboy and all we were involved with that, and we moved off into the NSC. Really, and this is how it started. When we were in Sackos, we had to go to we had a sort of a caucus meeting here with all the union members here. And we laid out the foundation and laid out, because people, I mean you people, a lot of you people like you, Dion Morgan, Aloysius and them, they moved to Crusaders at that stage. And we knew of people who were practicing at Warmer, and this one there, that one there. So we actually, our power as a playing force was actually now being stripped here, because we had people moving away for the betterment of hockey. So it would end up that if we stay with Sackos here, it would actually end up that we would just actually be, depleted, like, you know. So, and so we had a mandate to go to a meeting in for Beaufort West, we had a meeting there. Norman Mirage was the president, Frankie Van Horst was secretary, and Colin Abrams was assistant secretary, so he couldn't do anything. He was chairperson of board. So that's the first time I really then got to be a board delegate again. And then I went and when we came to a point where we said that, look at you, we need to go into regional contact, and this is our reasons, because we are losing players and we need to do something. Even if it's selfish, we would like to know if it's okay. Can't the board do that also? And they didn't want to, they made a recess. And then even after the recess, we came in, and then I maintained that I cannot change a mandate. If a mandate is coming from EP that we're going ahead with regional contact, we're going ahead. And that meeting ended at about 1:30 in the morning. And then we left the meeting, and that was it. And that was the end of everything. Then we tried to get the SA Hockey Board on Birmingham to meet with the white counterparts, and they met eventually at Cleary Park, and I had carries at that stage, and we arranged to have it at the rooms above the spur over there, not a spur on the side, there was a room that we had, and Colin was organizing everything, and that meeting ended in a deadlock also. But then we just decided we're going ahead with it, and then we started the unification process. And then eventually, yes, we knew that we're going to have a lot to do, with regards to that. And I mean, Wendell was involved with the unification process, Georgie Kuhn, Lindsay Renz, all the guys, Colin Abrams, and everyone, they were all involved in it. I mean, the first electors was actually Brian Ebert, Kevin Sutcliffe, myself, and David Reed Ross, and Lindsay Renz, right? And then what happened, this was so funny for us, because it was a different culture of things. Wayne Fensham was playing for Old Grey at that stage. So we were having our first trial at the Technicon. And we've got our guys here and that type of thing. So Wayne Fincham was standing here amongst us now because he was captain now. So I actually said to Brian, I said, Brian, what's going on here? He's not even in the EP team yet. Now he's coming to stand here as if he's now like part of the selection process, you know. And it was like a different to us. I can even tell you that first, I think you were in the team also that went to Cape Town. We what's his name? The cricketer John T. Rhodes was in his last tournament, and I was manager of the EP set plus team, and Dave Clark was manager. I was coach of the set plus team. And we had guys like Marvin Trumpeter, Hassan, Hayden, Johnny, all of us playing in the set plus team then, right? And Dave Clark says, we're playing South Gauteng now. So, you know, we got to play like this, you know, these guys are going to, how are we going to keep them out? So our guys are looking at this and we don't play hockey like that, we play hockey to win, you know? And I had to control that situation because our guys were totally upset the way his strategy was working. We must contain them, you know. So I mean, those are issues that we had differences in doing things, you know. I mean, even in the Masters tournament, the question was asked. Oh yes, I was on the Masters board also, EP board.
So Craig, you saying about the Masters there, about when you were on the board, how they were doing.
Oh yes, it was the Masters board. I said, but why? Because Southern Gauteng, they always winning the Masters tournament, only to find out that they have trials. You play a trial and you get chosen. Yeah, you say, oh, I'm going to play, and that is why. And I think one year we got it right when we had a good Masters team. I think Gogo's playing there. Gary Dolly played in that Masters team, I think. I'm not too sure who else were there, but and we gave them a run for their money. I think we played in the finals.
Okay, Craig, the other thing is, if I have to just put it out there, what is in your entire hockey career, can you recall either one or two memorable moments, you know, whether it's from playing wise, managing, administrative, what stands out for you about your past career with hockey?
Well, it was, I mean, as I say, it was we had a lot of fun together also, and we were very serious in terms of, but very, the humorous part of things I can look at is we used to travel. I mean, we traveled by bus to go to EP tournaments, or we used to go via cars with the club tournaments and things like that, you know. And I'll start from the very first one that you can laugh at actually. We played Champ of Champs as Alpha, and that year we were only, you know, we had only 11, 12 players. Yeah, 12 players. Not that we had 12 players in the club, because we always were proponents of juniors, but that could go to the Champ of Champs. Because we used to play Champ of Champs against Blackburn, almost Blackburn. It was always Blackburn, year in and year out, you know. And then we basically had to go to this London, right? But we had we used to have this 1,000 rand raw dance with a barrel and, you know, everything. So we had it at Alabama, you know, the 1,000 rand raw dance. And then we were going to leave after the dance. We were going to leave for the Champ of Champs now, like, you know, because we were going to play in East London. Anyways, Buxi, Cecil Domingo, he's now going to form part of the team. So he's the 12th guy, and so then we the 11 players, and we got the 12th guy. It was unfortunately certain of the guys just couldn't make it. I can't remember what was. So yes, okay, so after that, now Buxi says, okay, he's going now, and he was married to Sally at that stage, and he used to live in Parkside, there where Zano stays in number 484, I think, on the Kemp Street. So when we get there, now we're going to pick him up, like, you know. So we're going there, the next thing, Sally packed all his clothes on the stoop. So eventually, we basically couldn't go. So fine that we were only 11 now. You know, like if we get an injury here, it's gonna be like, you know. But fortunately we won. We beat Blackburn in the final still. We won the tournament just with 11 guys. And in the very same tournament, Mickey Brown was playing also. And Mickey Brown was my right half, I was the right back. So I'm standing there, Mickey Brown is standing next to me, and we playing the game, but the bird flies across, like, you know, but it flies there, and I just see a shadow fly here, and I duck, and I throw myself down, and Mickey sees it. That was now like, you know, and I was now like the joker after that. But also, this London trip, another London trip, I don't know why it's London. Rodwell, who's played for Alpha, Rodwell, my cousin, Rodwell. And Ducky Ryan was the mechanic, him and Leon White, and you know, like, they know everything about cars. So Rodwell had his Toyota Corolla, you know, and we're going to East London. It was the longest East London trip ever. It took us 18 hours to East London.
Sure.
Now, ask me why.
Huh?
We're leaving for East London, we're traveling. So Rodwell's car breaks down as we were so Ducky and him go, and I check what's the needle and seat and things like that, and you know. So yeah, no, they know what to put, and they put a needle in the seat, like into the whatever they have there. But the next thing, car just doesn't want to start. So now we're playing the next day, and it's already getting late. So we're all delayed now. We're waiting. So that's how it got me. So we decided, okay, look at you. Hey, we're going to ride on now. Rodwell is going to stay behind, and Ducky will stay behind. I think it was, no, but Ducky had his own car now. I don't think it was Ducky. Someone stayed with Rodwell, and whoever was traveling with him, because we couldn't put him in other cars, like, you know. So they had to take it to the dealer now, like, you know, because it's just not working, like, you know. So we get to East London, fine. So next thing, Rodwell and pitch up the car, like, you know, it was like the next day. So they get us, so we asked them what went on here, you know, like, I mean, yeah, what was the problem? And we got in professional mechanics, you know, Leon White, Ducky Ryan, you know, they know the car inside out. When you talk, you know, everything was like, you know. So the guy said, okay, no. Ducky and put the needle and seat line upside down. Now that to me was like, what? Now that is the deal. Yeah, that was the Alpha trip over there. With the EP, like, oh, there was too much fun on this. I'll just touch on a few of the issues. One year we're traveling, so they don't say, right, okay, there's a new drink out now, Cocorico. So the guy said, okay, we lost when we get Cocorico, 2 rand, like, you know, the drink was much cheaper at that time. Right? So we got now the Cocorico. I'm sitting there. Now Georgie didn't know what it was. And Cocky, I think, was the other one, if my memory serves me correct. So now, this is a new thing on the market. It's like a cocktail type of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was pouring Cocorico. Now we're going on as then. My dear, it's just lovely. So the next thing, Georgie take out this 2 and give me 2 and give me a little. So we got it. That was one. And yeah, those are moments, and they are also quite bad moments at stages, but you can laugh at it now.
Yeah.
In the EP team, we had Alan Domingo from Celtic. Alan was a character. He starts a fight and then he just moves away, like, you know. So we're traveling up. So Richie Dolly and Trevor Dolly is on the bus also. So as we're driving, Richard van Brissies is sitting in front of Richard Dolly, and Richard Brissies opens a window for the air to come in, and every time he opens it and Richard Dolly says close it, like, you know, and he closes it, and Van Brissies opens it and he closes it again. And the next thing is like, you know, and Trevor comes from a back also there, and it will stop, like almost with an altercation, like, now it's fine, it's all over. So now we're traveling now, like, we're traveling. It's about, say, a minute or so, or 2 minutes just after the incident, you just hear Alan's voice say, send the dollies home. Well, You know the next reaction. I don't know, was it Richie, I think, or Trevor, Richie. Yes, we'll give you a reason to send us home. So I mean, that was funny. I mean, that, and again, Alan, again. I'm on the bus, right? And there's something, but Richard van Bressis is again Richard and myself now, and it's not the something about the music, is whatever. I just can't. But what eventually happened, I'm not a violent guy, but I got so frustrated. But Alan prompted Richie van Bressis to say, as if I was the culprit in doing something, whatever, and Richard did something to set and whatever, but Alan said it, and I just hit against the bus window like this, because now I was being the villain here, and I'm not the villain, but Alan is, and he's just sitting and he's quiet. But you know, those
Alan was a stoker all the years, and he just went quietly beyond the thing.
Exactly, that's what Alan is.
Craig, there's probably, I'm not going to specify to hockey as such, but in your life, if you've just got to highlight one person that played that you'd consider as either a mentor to you, you know, somebody that played a massive role in your life as Craig, the sports person, because yes, I can define it as hockey only, but I think you've played so many other sports and on a holistic basis. Is there someone that's impacted you, and why would you say that person is the person who is your mentor as such?
Yeah, there's one person that I can single out really. Not that I didn't take anything from other players, the style of playing is that, you know, like for example, you know, how well he strikes the ball. But there's one person that really, and I mean to today, and I will say is Mohammed Aghdeen. Mr. Aghdeen played a major role in my sporting. I mean, through him, I played cricket. Through him, I did surf life saving. Through him, I got back into rugby. So I will always look up to him as somebody very important in shaping my career in sport. And in fact, every sort of like December period or whatever, I still chat to him and Iris, this is his wife, because they played with, I mean, he's 91, but he's still, you know, she's got the you know, the Alzheimer's problem. But she remembers, and like you'll tell her this is Craig, and she say, "Oh, Craig," and then you know, things like that. And I mean, they were totally involved with physical stuff like gyms and sport and things. And he's the one that actually got me into. When I got into life saving, then he identified me as a sportsman already. Like, I mean, and then he used to follow and watch what we like. I mean, when I got into play EP rugby, for example, he wasn't never into much of the hockey, you know, but when I got into playing EP rugby, he was very much, because he was a SA number 8 also when in those days, like, you know. And then he used to come and him and Dickie used to watch, because before I got into the main EP team, I played EPB first, you know. Yeah. So they used to come watch the EPB team, and then eventually when the EPA team, then they used to come and watch, and then when they come over the field, like, you know, and we used to wear our butcher blazers, like, you know, so we walked, and he used to always say something, because he was a coach of EP and things like that, also, you know. Yeah, no, what I must say is that, I mean, sport has done a lot to my life, and it was just, you know, like, I will add something that, so you take the youth of today, they're involved with so many other things, like, but then we were focused on sport then, and it was, and from then, I can say, today, I can say I've developed, I mean, a lot of friendships, a lot of friends. I'm talking not even friends from Port Elizabeth, nationally friends, right? Even sometimes they're international also now. And that is one thing that you can't take away from how, and if you take sport in that context, you know, then yes, I must say I've benefited a lot from sport. It was really purely development of my friendship with people. I will give you, for example, an incident. Term it as an incident is not going to be the right word. It's a happening which developed into an occasion, and it happened on so many numerous occasions. I went to Spa, for example, and as I came out of Spa, I got Errol Duisel and I got Llewellyn Clark, who known as Lighty, and these guys I played with were my St. Mark's rugby compatriots. Sorry. And they just said, look at you, hey, when did we see each other? And Errol was supposed to actually go to dispatch. He had a 2-liter cool drink in his hand. And Lighty was sent by his wife to buy something. So we ended up at my place, and then from my place we went to Lighty's place. And I haven't seen these guys in years. Eddie Minnick also. I went to the boardwalk, the sports bar at one stage, and he's actually a converted Christian. Him and Gunkis, Charles Gainsborough's brother, and they also played with me. And then we sat and just everything poured out again. So it's like, and we started relating about the times we had, how we played then, and how we did that then, and we sort of getting together again, and they invited me to come over here, and they invited me there, and things like that. So therefore I can say a friendship like that I would never have developed if I didn't play sport or rugby or hockey. The hockey guys I see quite often. Reason being, I am at hockey, I watched hockey quite often. Even the club contacted me to be part of the club again, and I went to watch the practicing and things like that. But the youngsters there, we had to actually show them how we approached our sport then. One guy doesn't come to training because he's drinking a beer in the afternoon already. We drank our beers and things, but when we play, we play. When we train. After that, we'll have a few beers, These youngsters, they don't turn up for a practice because of those things, They do have friendships, I must say, but but it has benefited me in a lot of ways, and for most of us, though. That's what I can say about my benefits out of the sport I played. Although the enjoyment, and you can always say it's nice to just play. But you play to want to win, and if you win, that's the best.
Yeah.
But if you lose, you also, I've always had that attitude that if you lose, you feel a bit bad, but you mustn't take it to the extremes. Like I don't want to mention in this interview, there are certain guys that I can make a reference to, So yes, that is what I got to say about the sport that I've benefited from.
Craig, it's, I think, been quite incredible. The interview I have by choice made slightly longer, and probably the people viewing it will see the different types of quality of video that we're taking, because we had to switch from one machine to the next machine, because I think those were important things to capture, the experiences you had, and also the important thing is the essential role you played in starting up of different clubs during the years, and the impact that has made along the way. So thanks for this time now. I think we can relax now. I'll have a cup of tea, and I think you can have some nice beverage as we'll care a bit longer with each other. But thanks for this time this afternoon. It's really been appreciated, and I'm sure the people who look at these videos in the future will really appreciate your input.
I must say I also must say thank you for taking this. You came upon me all of a sudden, it's like taking you by surprise, so you've got to start. But once you start speaking, then you start clicking onto various things. And I must say, I was thinking of so many things that, you could have spoken for hours. So, thank you very much for doing this. Can we pass it to my grandchildren, which I have now?
Good. Okay then, ciao for now.